In a distant corner of the galaxy, far beyond the reach of humanity's primitive telescopes, two ancient empires were locked in a war that had raged for thousands of years. The battlefield stretched across star systems, consuming planets and civilizations like a wildfire devouring dry grass. On one side stood the Vorthax, an insectoid race with chidnous exoskeletons and glowing green eyes. They moved as one, their minds linked by a hive consciousness that made them relentless and efficient killers. Opposing them were the Xyrath, crystalline beings who shimmered like prisms under starlight. Their bodies were nearly indestructible, forged from living minerals that could regenerate even after catastrophic damage. The war between these titans was brutal and unending. Entire worlds had been reduced to lifeless husks, their atmospheres stripped away by devastating weapons. Billions of sentient beings, both Vorthax drones and Xyrath citizens, had perished over centuries of conflict. Neither side could claim victory. They were too evenly matched. The Vorthax relied on overwhelming numbers and swarm tactics, while the Xyrath countered with superior technology and impenetrable defenses. It was a stalemate, but not a peaceful one. Every day brought new battles, new destruction, and new suffering. Amid this chaos, no one paid attention to a small blue planet orbiting a yellow sun at the edge of the galaxy. Humanity, still bound to its own solar system, remained blissfully unaware of the galactic carnage unfolding light years away. But fate has a way of intervening when least expected. It began with a probe, a simple robotic explorer launched decades earlier by Earth's space agencies. Its mission was humble: to drift through the void, collecting data and searching for signs of extraterrestrial life. What it found instead was something far more dangerous. As the probe drifted into the heart of the Vorthax-Xyrath war zone, it triggered automated defense systems designed to destroy any unidentified object entering the area. A squadron of Vorthax fighters intercepted the tiny machine, scanning it for threats. At first glance, the probe seemed harmless, little more than scrap metal floating through space. But then the aliens noticed something unusual: a small encrypted file buried deep within its memory banks. Curiosity got the better of them. The Vorthax attempted to hack into the probe, hoping to uncover some secret weapon or valuable intelligence. Instead, they triggered its hidden failsafe. In less than a second, the probe unleashed a cloud of nanobots, microscopic machines programmed to dismantle anything they touched. Before the Vorthax could react, the nanobots swarmed their flagship, tearing through its hull like paper. Within moments, the mighty vessel was reduced to rubble, drifting silently among the stars. News of the incident spread quickly. Both the Vorthax and the Xyrath were stunned. How could such a primitive species possess technology capable of destroying one of their most advanced ships? Was humanity a threat or an opportunity? For the first time in millennia, the warring empires paused their endless struggle to focus on a single question: who were these newcomers, and what did they want? On Earth, humanity remained oblivious to the storm brewing in the heavens above. People went about their daily lives, unaware that their existence had just become the central topic of discussion in a galaxy-spanning conflict. Little did they know, their arrival on the interstellar stage would change everything, for better or worse. And so, the stage was set. Two ancient powers, weary from centuries of bloodshed, now faced a new player in the game of war. Humanity, fragile and untested, was about to step into a cosmic arena where survival depended not on brute strength, but on ingenuity and daring. The question was simple yet profound. Could a species that had barely left its cradle alter the course of a hopeless war? Only time would tell. The destruction of the Vorthax flagship sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Both the insectoid warriors and their crystalline adversaries, the Xyrath, were forced to confront a startling reality. Humanity, a species they had never heard of, possessed technology capable of dismantling even their most advanced warships. The probe that had caused the devastation was recovered by the Vorthax salvage teams, its nanobots deactivated but intact. Scientists from both sides pored over the device, dissecting every component in search of answers. What they found was equal parts fascinating and unsettling. The probe carried rudimentary blueprints for fusion reactors and quantum communication systems, technologies far behind what the Vorthax and Zereth already possessed. These designs seemed laughably outdated, like relics from an earlier age. But buried within the probe's memory banks was something far more intriguing. A file labeled Adaptive Warfare Algorithms. It contained complex mathematical models designed to counter unpredictable threats using real-time data analysis and autonomous decision-making. To the aliens, this was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Their own strategies relied on rigid doctrines honed over millennia, leaving little room for adaptability. Humanity's approach, however flawed it might seem, offered a glimpse into something revolutionary. Word of the discovery reached the highest levels of power. The Vorthax Queen, her glowing green eyes narrowing with suspicion, summoned her advisors. "If these primitives have such ingenuity," she hissed, "they could tip the balance of this war." Across the battlefield, the Zyreth Council convened in their crystalline citadel, their shimmering forms flickering with concern. "We cannot allow the Vorthax to gain an advantage," one elder declared. Both factions agreed on one thing: humanity must be dealt with, quickly. Diplomatic envoys were dispatched to Earth, each carrying promises of riches beyond imagination. The Vorthax offered hyperspace travel technology, which would allow humanity to explore the stars as never before. The Zerath countered with immortality treatments, assuring humans that death itself could become obsolete. Representatives from both empires landed on Earth simultaneously, their towering ships casting shadows over cities unprepared for such visitors. Humanity's leaders, baffled yet intrigued, listened carefully to their pitches. But humanity's response surprised everyone. Instead of aligning with either side, Earth's representatives presented a bold proposal. "We will end your war, not in years or decades, but in 5 hours." The statement was met with stunned silence. The Vorthax envoys buzzed angrily, dismissing the claim as absurd. The Zyreth delegates shimmered with disdain, convinced that humanity's arrogance would lead to failure. Yet beneath their skepticism lay a kernel of curiosity. Could these fragile creatures truly accomplish what neither empire had managed in thousands of years? To test humanity's resolve, both factions reluctantly agreed to a temporary ceasefire. They granted Earth access to neutral territory, an abandoned space station orbiting a dying star, where humanity could prepare its strategy. As the terms were finalized, Earth's brightest minds worked tirelessly to assemble a team. Engineers, physicists, and strategists collaborated with military experts and AI programmers. Together, they began piecing together a plan so audacious it bordered on madness. Meanwhile, rumors spread across the galaxy. News of humanity's challenge reached even the most remote colonies, sparking debates among soldiers, scientists, and civilians alike. Some dismissed the idea as folly, while others saw it as a beacon of hope. For the first time in centuries, the possibility of peace felt tangible, even if it came at the hands of an unknown species. Back on Earth, preparations intensified. Factories churned out experimental weapons based on reverse-engineered alien tech. Pilots trained in simulated combat scenarios against both Vorthax and Zyreth forces. And at the heart of it all stood Dr. Elena Miles, the lead scientist behind the adaptive warfare algorithms. Her voice carried authority as she addressed the assembled team. "This isn't just about winning," she said firmly. "It's about proving that there's another way, a better way." As the clock ticked closer to 0 hour, humanity braced itself for the greatest gamble in its history. The galaxy watched with bated breath, unsure whether to cheer or condemn. One thing was certain: whatever happened next would change everything. For humanity, for the Vorthax, for the Zereth, and for the countless lives caught in the crossfire of a hopeless war. And so, humanity stepped onto the galactic stage, armed not with brute strength, but with creativity, determination, and a plan no one thought possible. The neutral space station, designated Eclipse 7, floated silently in the shadow of a dying red giant star. Its metallic hull glinted faintly under the dim light, a stark contrast to the chaos that had consumed the galaxy for millennia. Inside, humanity's representatives worked tirelessly alongside their hastily assembled team of scientists, engineers, and strategists. Every corner buzzed with activity. Screens displayed complex schematics, machines hummed as they fabricated experimental weapons, and holographic maps of the battlefield flickered above crowded tables. The air was thick with tension, but also determination. This was humanity's chance to prove itself, not as conquerors, but as problem solvers. Meanwhile, aboard their respective flagships, the leaders of the Vorthax and Zirath awaited humanity's next move. Both factions were skeptical yet intrigued. The Vorthax queen paced her command chamber, her chitinous claws clicking against the floor. Her hive mind whispered fragments of doubt into her thoughts. Could these primitives truly end our war? She wondered aloud. Across the void, the Zirath Council shimmered uneasily, their crystalline forms pulsing with uncertainty. If they succeed, one elder said, his voice resonating like chimes, we lose nothing. But if they fail, he didn't need to finish the sentence. Failure would mean wasted time, and in a war this old, every moment counted. Back on Eclipse 7, humanity unveiled its first step toward peace, a formal presentation to both alien envoys. Dr. Elena Miles stood at the center of the room, flanked by Earth's top military advisors. She projected calm confidence as she addressed the towering figures before her. The insectoid Vorthax ambassador, whose green eyes glowed ominously, and the translucent Zirath delegate, whose form refracted the light into dazzling colors. Your war has lasted thousands of years, Dr. Miles began, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Neither side has achieved victory because your strategies are predictable. You rely on brute force, overwhelming numbers, or impenetrable defenses, but you lack adaptability. That is where we come in. She gestured to a hologram displaying a series of simulations. In each scenario, humanity's tactics shifted dynamically, exploiting weaknesses in both the Vorthax swarm formations and the Zirath crystalline structures. We don't fight fair, she continued. We don't adhere to rigid doctrines. We use creativity, unpredictability, and technology tailored to the moment. That is how we plan to end your war, in 5 hours. The reaction was immediate. The Vorthax ambassador hissed, mandibles snapping in irritation. You boast too much, he growled. Your species is weak, fragile. What makes you think you can succeed where we have failed? The Zirath delegate chimed in, his voice cold and sharp. Your so-called adaptability may work against primitive foes, but not against us. Our technology is unparalleled. Dr. Miles smiled faintly, unfazed by their skepticism. Then let us prove it, she replied. Grant us access to your battlefields, your fleets, your data networks. Let us show you what humanity is capable of. After a tense silence, the aliens reluctantly agreed. Both sides issued orders to their forces. Stand down temporarily and allow humanity to execute its plan. No attacks, no sabotage, just observation. It wasn't trust, it was curiosity. Neither empire wanted to appear afraid of a challenge from such an insignificant species. Besides, if humanity failed, they could resume their war without losing face. As the ceasefire went into effect, humanity wasted no time. Factories on Earth ramped up production of experimental weapons based on reverse-engineered alien tech. Engineers tweaked designs for mirror drones, ships equipped with adaptive camouflage capable of impersonating enemy vessels. Others fine-tuned echo bombs, devices designed to disrupt the Vorthax hive mind and shatter the Zirath crystalline resonance fields. Meanwhile, AI programmers perfected the Unity Protocol, a neural network program meant to exploit cracks in the leadership hierarchies of both empires. On the eve of the operation, humanity's leaders gathered for one final briefing. General Marcus Hale, a grizzled veteran with a steely gaze, addressed the team. "This isn't just about ending a war," he said. "It's about showing the galaxy what we're made of. If we pull this off, we won't just survive, we'll thrive." As the clock ticked closer to 0 hour, the galaxy held its breath. Humanity's gamble was risky, audacious, and unprecedented. But deep down, even the skeptical aliens couldn't help but wonder, could these fragile creatures really do the impossible? And so, humanity prepared to step onto the battlefield, armed not with superior firepower, but with ingenuity, courage, and a plan bold enough to rewrite the rules of war. As the clock struck midnight, marking the start of humanity's 5-hour deadline, the galaxy braced itself for what was to come. Inside the command center aboard Eclipse 7, screens flickered with live feeds from drones scattered across the battlefield. Every member of humanity's team was in position, their hearts pounding with a mix of excitement and dread. This was it, the moment they would show the universe that Earth wasn't just another backwater planet. It was a force to be reckoned with. The first phase of the operation relied on deception. Humanity's secret weapon, the mirror drones, took flight under the cover of darkness. These sleek, unassuming ships were equipped with adaptive camouflage systems capable of mimicking the appearance of both Vorthax and Xyrath vessels. To an enemy scanner, they looked indistinguishable from real ships. Within minutes, dozens of mirror drones infiltrated the airspace of both empires' fleets, sowing confusion among commanders who struggled to identify friend from foe. "What is this?" demanded the Vorthax Queen, her glowing eyes narrowing as reports flooded in about rogue ships attacking their own forces. On the other side, the Xyrath Council shimmered anxiously as similar chaos unfolded within their ranks. "Are these traitors? Saboteurs?" One elder chimed, his crystalline form vibrating with unease. Neither empire could explain how identical copies of their ships were suddenly turning against them. By the time they realized the truth, that these imposters weren't theirs at all, it was too late. The mirror drones had already caused widespread disarray, forcing both sides to divert resources to contain the phantom threat. While the drones wreaked havoc above, humanity unleashed its second wave of attacks. The Echo Bombs. Designed by Earth's top physicists, these devices emitted pulses of energy specifically calibrated to disrupt the unique biology of the warring species. For the Vorthax, whose hive consciousness relied on synchronized neural signals, the Echo Bombs created static interference, causing their swarm tactics to falter. Soldiers froze mid-motion, their connection to the collective severed. Entire squadrons dissolved into chaos as individual warriors lost direction without orders from the Queen. For the Xyrath, the bombs targeted their crystalline resonance fields, the invisible web of vibrations that powered their bodies and weapons. When struck by an echo bomb, their shimmering forms dimmed, their movements slowed, and their once impenetrable defenses began to crack. Crystalline warships listed helplessly in space, their crews struggling to regain control. Both empires, long accustomed to dominance, found themselves crippled by technology they couldn't comprehend. But humanity wasn't done yet. As the battle raged on, AI operators activated the Unity Protocol. This neural network program exploited vulnerabilities in each empire's leadership structure, broadcasting subliminal messages directly into the minds of soldiers and officers. For the Vorthax, the protocol amplified doubts about the Queen's infallibility, planting seeds of rebellion among disillusioned drones. Among the Xyrath, it highlighted fractures within the Council, whispering accusations of corruption and incompetence. Leaders on both sides suddenly faced mutiny from within their own ranks. On Eclipse 7, Dr. Elena Miles watched the unfolding chaos with quiet satisfaction. Phase 1 complete, she murmured to General Marcus Hale, who stood beside her. "Now comes the hard part." Hale nodded grimly. "They'll recover soon enough. We've got to hit them harder before they regroup." Despite the initial success, humanity knew the war wasn't over yet. The Vorthax and Zereth might have been caught off guard, but they were far from defeated. Their sheer numbers and technological prowess still posed a formidable challenge. Yet even as alarms blared across alien flagships and desperate countermeasures were deployed, there was no denying one thing. Humanity had struck a blow unlike any seen in the history of the conflict. Across the galaxy, observers watched in stunned silence. Some whispered prayers for peace, while others marveled at humanity's ingenuity. No one, not even humanity itself, knew if this gambit would succeed. But one truth was undeniable. Earth had proven it could fight smarter, not harder. And in doing so, it had earned the attention, and perhaps even the respect, of two ancient civilizations. With 3 hours left on the clock, humanity prepared to escalate its assault. The next phase would test not only their technology, but also their resolve. For better or worse, the galaxy now belonged to humanity. For the next 5 hours, at least. At precisely 00:00 Galactic Standard Time, humanity launched its opening salvo. The galaxy trembled as Earth's forces moved with precision and purpose, executing a plan so audacious it bordered on reckless. From the command center aboard Eclipse 7, General Marcus Hale barked orders into his comms unit, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "Execute Phase 1, he commanded. "Let's show them what we're made of." The first wave of attacks came from the mirror drones. Sleek and silent, these ships slipped into enemy formations undetected, their adaptive camouflage rendering them invisible to scanners. Within moments, chaos erupted across both the Vorthax and Zereth fleets. Commanders scrambled to identify which vessels were real and which were imposters. Friendly fire became rampant as panicked soldiers fired blindly at anything that moved. "What is happening?" hissed the Vorthax Queen, her glowing green eyes narrowing in fury as reports flooded in about rogue ships attacking their own ranks. Across the battlefield, the Zirath Council shimmered anxiously, their crystalline forms flickering with unease. "Are these traitors? Saboteurs?" One elder chimed, his voice resonating like broken glass. Neither empire could explain how identical copies of their ships were wreaking havoc within their ranks. As confusion spread, humanity unleashed its second weapon, the echo bombs. These devices pulsed with energy specifically designed to exploit the unique weaknesses of each species. For the Vorthax, whose hive mind relied on synchronized neural signals, the bombs created static interference, severing their connection to the collective consciousness. Entire squadrons froze mid-motion, their warriors suddenly adrift without orders from the Queen. On board one of the Vorthax cruisers, drones turned on each other, their programming overridden by panic and disorientation. For the Zirath, the echo bombs targeted their crystalline resonance fields, the invisible vibrations that powered their bodies and weapons. When struck, their shimmering forms dimmed, their movements slowed, and their once impenetrable defenses began to crack. Crystalline warships listed helplessly in space, their crews struggling to regain control. Both empires, long accustomed to dominance, found themselves crippled by technology they couldn't comprehend. But humanity wasn't done yet. As the battle raged on, AI operators activated the Unity Protocol. This neural network program exploited vulnerabilities in each empire's leadership structure, broadcasting subliminal messages directly into the minds of soldiers and officers. For the Vorthax, the protocol amplified doubts about the Queen's infallibility, planting seeds of rebellion among disillusioned drones. Among the Zirath, it highlighted fractures within the Council, whispering accusations of corruption and incompetence. Leaders on both sides suddenly faced mutiny from within their own ranks. On Eclipse 7, Dr. Elena Miles watched the unfolding chaos with quiet satisfaction. Phase 1 complete, she murmured to General Marcus Hale, who stood beside her. "Now comes the hard part." Hale nodded grimly. "They'll recover soon enough. We've got to hit them harder before they regroup." Despite the initial success, humanity knew the war wasn't over yet. The Vorthax and Zirath might have been caught off guard, but they were far from defeated. Their sheer numbers and technological prowess still posed a formidable challenge. Yet even as alarms blared across alien flagships and desperate countermeasures were deployed, there was no denying one thing. Humanity had struck a blow unlike any seen in the history of the conflict. Across the galaxy, observers watched in stunned silence. Some whispered prayers for peace, while others marveled at humanity's ingenuity. No one, not even humanity itself, knew if this gambit would succeed. But one truth was undeniable. Earth had proven it could fight smarter, not harder. And in doing so, it had earned the attention, and perhaps even the respect, of two ancient civilizations. With 3 hours left on the clock, humanity prepared to escalate its assault. The next phase would test not only their technology, but also their resolve. For better or worse, the galaxy now belonged to humanity. For the next 5 hours, at least. With the battlefield in disarray, humanity seized the opportunity to press its advantage. The mirror drones had sown chaos, the eco-bombs had crippled key systems, and the Unity Protocol had planted seeds of dissent within both empires. Now it was time for Phase 2, divide and conquer. Humanity's strategy shifted from creating confusion to targeting the heart of each empire's power structure. The goal was clear: shatter their ability to wage war by dismantling their leadership hierarchies and cutting off their resources. Elite strike teams piloted small, agile ships equipped with advanced weaponry salvaged from reverse-engineered alien tech. These teams were tasked with infiltrating enemy supply lines, destroying orbital factories that churned out warships, and disabling communication hubs that kept the armies coordinated. Each mission was meticulously planned, leveraging real-time data gathered by reconnaissance drones. Speed and precision were paramount. Every second counted as the clock ticked closer to the 5-hour deadline. On board one such vessel, Captain Sarah Chen led her squad toward a massive Vorthax supply depot orbiting a gas giant. The facility glowed faintly under the planet's swirling atmosphere, its automated defenses scanning for threats. Chen's ship, cloaked in adaptive camouflage, slipped past the outer perimeter undetected. "We're inside," she whispered into her comms unit, initiating attack sequence. Seconds later, torpedoes launched from her ship struck critical points along the depot's infrastructure. Explosions rippled across the station as fuel tanks ruptured and cargo pods tumbled into the void. Within minutes, the once bustling hub was reduced to a drifting ruin. Cut off from vital supplies, nearby Vorthax fleets began to falter, their momentum slowing as they scrambled to regroup. Simultaneously, another team targeted a crystalline citadel belonging to the Zerath. This fortress-like structure housed not only weapons manufacturing facilities, but also key members of the Council. Using EMP charges designed to short-circuit the Zerath's energy-based technology, the strike team disabled the citadel's defenses before breaching its walls. Inside, they deployed holographic projectors that broadcast damning evidence of corruption among the Council elders, data uncovered earlier by the Unity Protocol. The effect was immediate. Crystalline guards turned on their superiors, their loyalty shaken by the revelations. One elder shattered under the weight of his own guilt, while others fled the crumbling citadel. By the time the strike team withdrew, the citadel was in ruins, and the Council's authority had been severely weakened. But humanity wasn't relying solely on brute force. Diplomatic strike teams beamed aboard alien vessels, offering surrender terms to disillusioned soldiers and rogue commanders. Many defected immediately, eager to escape the endless cycle of violence. Others resisted, but even those who fought back found themselves overwhelmed by humanity's relentless pace. Meanwhile, the Vorthax Queen and the remaining Zerath elders convened an emergency summit aboard a neutral space station. For the first time in millennia, the two ancient enemies sat together, not to strategize, but to confront a shared threat. The Queen's glowing eyes burned with fury as she addressed the Council. "These primitives are dismantling everything we've built," she growled. "If we don't act now, there will be nothing left to fight over." One of the Xyrath elders chimed in, his voice trembling. Perhaps they have shown us something we refuse to see. That this war is unwinnable. Before they could debate further, reports came flooding in about fresh attacks on their homeworlds. Humanity had escalated its assault, targeting the very heart of each empire. The Vorthax Hive Queen watched helplessly as her forces crumbled under the relentless pressure. The Xyrath elders shimmered anxiously, realizing their civilization teetered on the brink of collapse. Back on Eclipse 7, Dr. Elena Miles monitored the progress with growing confidence. "They're breaking," she said to General Hale. "Just a little more, and they'll shatter completely." Hale nodded grimly. "Let's make sure they remember this day forever." As humanity tightened its grip, the galaxy held its breath. The war that had raged for thousands of years was finally reaching its end. But at what cost? With 2 hours left on the clock, humanity prepared to deliver the final blow. The question remained, would this gambit bring peace, or ignite an even greater conflict? The galaxy woke to a new dawn, one unlike any it had seen in thousands of years. The Vorthax and Xyrath, once bitter enemies, began the painstaking process of rebuilding their shattered societies. Guided by humanity's example, they turned away from hatred and embraced cooperation. Callus, the rogue commander who had defied the Hive Queen, emerged as a unifying figure among the Vorthax. He championed individuality, encouraging drones to explore their own identities rather than relying on the collective consciousness they had lost. "We are stronger when we think for ourselves," he declared during a historic address broadcast across his people's worlds. His words resonated deeply, inspiring countless drones to imagine futures beyond endless war. For the Xyrath, the reformist elders worked tirelessly to dismantle the remnants of corruption that had plagued their civilization. They introduced transparent governance systems, inviting citizens to participate in decision-making processes for the first time. Shimmering crystalline structures, once symbols of oppression, were repurposed into centers of learning and collaboration. Slowly but surely, trust began to take root. One elder chimed softly at a public gathering. "Our strength lies not in domination, but in unity. Together, we can heal." Humanity, meanwhile, earned its place as a galactic leader, not through conquest, but through ingenuity and compassion. Earth became a beacon of hope, drawing delegations from across the stars eager to learn from the species that had ended an impossible war. Factories once dedicated to weapons production now churned out tools for reconstruction, while scientists collaborated with alien counterparts to develop sustainable technologies. Humanity's greatest achievement, however, was proving that peace wasn't just an ideal, it was achievable. Dr. Elena Miles and General Marcus Hale stood side by side as ambassadors from both empires arrived on Earth for the inaugural meeting of the Galactic Council. The Council's purpose was clear: to foster dialogue, prevent future conflicts, and guide the galaxy toward prosperity. As representatives debated policies and shared ideas, Miles couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. "This is what we fought for," she said quietly to Hale. "A chance to create something better." But challenges remained. Remnants of the old regimes, the loyalists to the Vorthax Queen, and the corrupt Xyrath factions, continued plotting in secret. Their numbers were small, but their resolve burned fiercely. Acts of sabotage occasionally disrupted reconstruction efforts, serving as grim reminders that not everyone welcomed change. Yet these threats only strengthened humanity's resolve. Earth's leaders knew that peace required vigilance, and they were prepared to defend it without reverting to violence. Across the galaxy, stories of humanity's heroism spread like wildfire. Artists painted murals depicting Earth's daring gambit, poets composed verses celebrating their ingenuity, and historians recorded every detail of the 5-hour miracle. For the first time, humanity realized its potential on the interstellar stage, not as conquerors, but as peacemakers. As Earth's leaders looked out at the stars, they understood the enormity of their responsibility. This was just the beginning of humanity's journey among the cosmos. There would be trials ahead, moments of doubt, and battles yet unseen. But one thing was certain. Humanity had proven it could rise above fear and division, even when faced with overwhelming odds. In the quiet moments after the council adjourned, Dr. Miles gazed at the night sky, her mind reflecting on all they had accomplished. She thought of the lives saved, the worlds rebuilt, and the fragile hope that now bound the galaxy together. Turning to Hale, she smiled faintly. "We've changed everything," she said. Hale nodded, his expression thoughtful. "And now we have to make sure it lasts." With those words echoing in their hearts, humanity stepped boldly into the future, a future filled with challenges, yes, but also boundless possibilities. The galaxy had found its saviors in the most unlikely of places, and under their guidance it began to heal. From the ashes of a hopeless war, a legacy of hope was born, and humanity stood at its center, ready to lead the way. With just 2 hours left on the clock, humanity's relentless assault had pushed both the Vorthax and Zirath to the brink of collapse. Entire fleets lay in ruins, drifting like ghost ships through the void. Supply lines were severed, communication hubs destroyed, and leadership hierarchies fractured. But as humanity prepared for its final push, an unexpected twist emerged, one that would force them to reconsider their strategy. Amid the chaos, a splinter faction of Vorthax warriors reached out to humanity, led by a rogue commander named Kellis, a drone who had long questioned the Hive Queen's authority. They offered an alliance. "The Queen has led us to ruin," Kellis transmitted through a secure channel, his voice tinged with defiance. "Her obsession with conquest has cost us everything. Help us overthrow her, and we will stand with you." The message was met with skepticism among humanity's leaders. Dr. Elena Miles frowned at the holographic display showing Callus's transmission. "Can we trust them?" she asked General Marcus Hale. "Or is this a trap?" Hale crossed his arms, his steely gaze fixed on the screen. "They're desperate," he replied. "But desperation makes allies unpredictable. If we help them, and they turn on us later." Before they could decide, another transmission arrived, this time from a group of reformist Zirath elders. Unlike their corrupt counterparts, these elders sought to dismantle the Council's oppressive regime and rebuild their society on principles of cooperation rather than domination. "Your actions have exposed the flaws in our system," one elder chimed, his crystalline form shimmering faintly. "We wish to join you in ending this war, but only if you aid us in removing those who perpetuate it." Humanity now faced a moral dilemma. Their original plan had been simple: annihilate the old order and force peace upon the galaxy. But here were factions from both empires pleading for assistance, not to prolong the war, but to reshape their civilizations. Accepting their offers could delay the 5-hour deadline, risking failure. Yet rejecting them might mean squandering an opportunity to create lasting change. After hours of heated debate, humanity chose a middle path. They agreed to aid the rebels but issued strict conditions: unconditional surrender once the war ended, full cooperation in establishing a new galactic government, and no retaliation against humanity or its allies. Both Calus and the reformist elders accepted without hesitation. With the decision made, humanity launched its most daring operation yet. Mirror drones infiltrated the Vorthax homeworld, impersonating elite guards loyal to the Queen. As Calus and his followers staged a diversionary attack, the drones breached the royal palace, disabling the hive mind network that kept the Queen in control. Cut off from her swarm, the Queen was captured alive, a symbol of the old regime's fall. On the Zirath capital planet, humanity deployed a team of hackers armed with enhanced versions of the Unity Protocol. Broadcasting directly into the minds of the remaining council members, the program amplified dissent among the population. Citizens rose up in revolt, storming the crystalline citadel where the council convened. One by one, the elders were forced to step down, replaced by reformists eager to embrace change. As news of these victories spread, the galaxy watched in awe. Humanity had not only defeated two ancient powers, It had inspired rebellion from within. The Vorthax Queen and the corrupt Xyreth Council were gone, leaving behind broken systems ripe for renewal. But there was still one final challenge: automated defense systems, programmed to protect the Empire's core territories, continued firing indiscriminately despite the collapse of leadership. These systems were too advanced to shut down remotely, and every second they remained active threatened to undo all progress. General Hale turned to Dr. Miles. "It's time for the Harmony Engine," he said firmly. "If we don't use it now, everything we've fought for will be lost." Miles nodded, her expression grim. "Let's hope it works." With less than an hour left on the clock, humanity activated its ultimate weapon, a device designed to neutralize all hostile technology within range. As the engine hummed to life, the galaxy held its breath. Would it succeed, or would humanity's gamble doom them all? The Harmony Engine was humanity's last hope, a device so experimental that even its creators weren't sure it would work. Designed by Earth's top scientists, the engine generated a harmonic frequency capable of neutralizing all hostile technology within a vast radius. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It didn't destroy or explode. Instead, it disrupted the fundamental systems powering weapons, ships, and automated defenses, rendering them inert. If successful, it would silence the galaxy's endless war machines and bring peace. But if it failed, it could leave humanity defenseless against the remnants of two ancient empires. As the clock ticked closer to the 5-hour deadline, tension aboard Eclipse 7 reached a fever pitch. Technicians scrambled to calibrate the engine, their hands trembling as they adjusted dials and input final commands. Dr. Elinga Miles stood at the center of the control room, her eyes locked on the countdown timer above. "We're out of time," she said firmly. "Activate the engine." General Marcus Hale hesitated for a moment, his jaw clenched. "If this doesn't work," he began, trailing off as the weight of the decision settled over him. "It has to work," Miles interrupted, her voice steady despite the stakes. "We've come too far to back down now." With a deep breath, Hale gave the order. "Activate the Harmony Engine. Let's finish this." The engine roared to life, its core glowing with an otherworldly light. Waves of energy pulsed outward, invisible to the naked eye, but detectable through every sensor array in the galaxy. Within seconds, the effects became undeniable. Across the battlefield, weapons systems powered down mid-fire, leaving soldiers staring in stunned silence at their suddenly useless guns. Warships drifted aimlessly as engines cut out, their crews unable to restart them. Automated defense turrets, once relentless in their attacks, froze in place like statues. On the Vorthax homeworld, Kalis and his followers watched in awe as the hive mind network, the very foundation of their society, went dark. For the first time in millennia, individual drones were free to think and act independently. Some panicked, unsure how to function without orders from the Queen. Others embraced the newfound freedom, eager to forge a new path forward. Meanwhile, on the Xyreth capital planet, crystalline structures that had shimmered with power dimmed into stillness. The reformist elders gathered in the ruins of the citadel, their forms glowing faintly as they absorbed the implications of what had just happened. "It is over," one elder chimed, his voice resonating with both relief and uncertainty. But what comes next? Across the galaxy, observers held their breath. Ships that moments ago had been locked in deadly combat now floated silently in space. Soldiers who had spent lifetimes fighting found themselves standing side by side, unsure whether to cheer, cry, or simply walk away. The silence was deafening, a stark contrast to the cacophony of war that had echoed for thousands of years. Back on Eclipse 7, humanity's team erupted into cheers as the engine completed its cycle. Screens displaying live feeds showed no signs of active hostilities anywhere in the galaxy. The war was over, or at least it seemed that way. But even as celebrations broke out, Dr. Miles remained cautious. She turned to General Hale, her expression grim. "This is just the beginning," she said quietly. Peace isn't something you can enforce with technology. It's something you have to build. Hale nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. Then we'd better start building fast. With less than 30 minutes left on the clock, humanity prepared for the final phase, broadcasting a message to the galaxy. They had ended the war, but now they needed to ensure it stayed ended. Cameras rolled as Dr. Miles stepped up to address the universe. Behind her, the battered yet triumphant faces of Earth's team served as a reminder of what humanity had achieved. To the people of the galaxy, she began, her voice calm but firm. Your war ends now. Not because we defeated you, but because we showed you another way. A better way. The future is yours to shape, but it must be built on cooperation, not conflict. Her words echoed across star systems, reaching billions of beings who had known nothing but war. Some listened with skepticism, others with hope. But one thing was certain. Humanity had changed the course of galactic history forever. As the clock struck 0, the galaxy entered a fragile new era, one defined not by destruction, but by possibility. And humanity. They stood ready to lead the way. As the final seconds of humanity's 5-hour deadline ticked away, the galaxy held its collective breath. The Harmony engine had silenced every weapon, ship, and automated defense system within its range, leaving behind a stunned silence that stretched across star systems. For the first time in millennia, no shots were fired, no lives were lost, and for the first time ever, hope began to replace fear. But peace wasn't guaranteed, not yet. While the immediate threat of violence had been neutralized, old wounds still festered. The Vorthax, long accustomed to their hive mind's rigid control, now faced an existential crisis. Without the Queen's guidance, individual drones struggled to adapt to their newfound independence. Some embraced it, eager to explore thoughts and emotions they'd never experienced before. Others recoiled, terrified by the absence of structure. Callus, the rogue commander who had allied with humanity, worked tirelessly to guide his people through this uncertain transition. We are not just soldiers, he told them during a broadcast across the former empire. We are individuals, with dreams, choices, and voices. The Zyreth, meanwhile, grappled with their own challenges. The reformist elders, though well-intentioned, lacked the authority to unite their fractured society overnight. Many citizens questioned whether they could trust these new leaders after centuries of oppression under the council. Crystalline cities that once shimmered with pride now stood dim and quiet, their inhabitants unsure of what the future held. Yet amidst the uncertainty, small acts of courage began to emerge. Groups of Zerath citizens gathered to rebuild damaged infrastructure, sharing resources and knowledge as they worked toward a common goal. Slowly but surely, cracks of light appeared in the darkness. On Earth, humanity watched these developments unfold with cautious optimism. Dr. Elena Miles and General Marcus Hale knew their work wasn't done. Ending the war had been the easy part. Building lasting peace would require patience, diplomacy, and unwavering commitment. To that end, they assembled a team of ambassadors, scientists, and engineers tasked with fostering cooperation between the former enemies. This isn't about dominance anymore, Miles reminded her team during a briefing. It's about partnership. We're here to help them heal, not rule over them. Humanity also took steps to ensure the Harmony engine wouldn't become a tool for oppression. Recognizing its potential for misuse, they dismantled the device after disabling all hostile technology. Instead, they proposed creating the Galactic Council, a coalition of representatives from Earth, the Vorthax, and the Zyreth, to oversee reconstruction efforts and prevent future conflicts. The idea was met with mixed reactions, but both Callus and the reformist elders agreed to participate, seeing it as a necessary step toward stability. As news of humanity's actions spread, admiration for Earth grew. Once dismissed as primitives, humans were now seen as visionaries, beings capable of ending a hopeless war and offering a path forward. Aliens who had once viewed Earth with suspicion or disdain now looked to it with respect and even gratitude. Yet not everyone was pleased. In the shadows, remnants of the old regimes plotted revenge. A few loyalists to the Vorthax queen whispered of rebellion, vowing to restore the hive mind at any cost. Similarly, factions within the Zirath whispered of reclaiming their crystalline dominance. These dissenters were few in number, but their hatred burned bright. Despite these lingering threats, the galaxy began to change. Ships once armed for war were repurposed for exploration and trade. Planets devastated by centuries of conflict saw volunteers arriving from across the stars to assist in rebuilding. Children born into war now dared to dream of futures filled with possibilities beyond battlefields. As the sun rose over Earth's horizon, humanity reflected on what they had achieved. They hadn't just ended a war, they had ignited a spark of unity in a fractured galaxy. But deep down, they knew the road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges. Still, one truth remained undeniable. Humanity had proven that even the smallest species could make the biggest difference. With the 5 hours complete, the galaxy entered a fragile new era, one defined not by destruction, but by hope and humanity. They stood ready to lead the way, armed not with weapons, but with determination and vision.